Hello, good morning, students. Welcome in today's class through online teaching. In today's class, we are going to start a beautiful poem, and its title is Ode to Evening. Our today's topic is Ode to Evening. This poem has been included in BA Part 2nd syllabus, paper 1st, Poetry and Drama. And this poem is written by William Collins. So, before reading this poem, we will know some important facts related to William Collins' life. William Collins was born in 1721 at Chichester. William Collins was born in 1721 at Chichester. He studied at Oxford. During his college life, Collins published some of his works and his Persian eclogues and epistles. In 1747 appeared his odes on different subjects. Collins was extremely sensitive personality. His friendship with James Thomson was a pleasant interlude. Thomson's death in 1747 shocked him severely. He wrote one of the finest odes in his memory. Collins lived an unhappy life. Almost throughout his life, he was discouraged by material worries. He left behind an unfinished ode entitled On Popular Superstitions of Highland. William Collins is a poet whose name is often mentioned with Thomas Gray. He is a dominant influence on later 18th century poetry. Collins moved to London in the 1740 where he met Thomson and several other literary figures like Dr. Samuel Johnson. During the last few years of his life, he suffered from severe melancholia and he died in 1759 at an early age of 38. William Collins was born in 1721 and he was died in 1759 at an early age of 38. Ode to Evening by William Collins is an ode addressed to evening and describes the scene of the setting sun and the setting in of dusk. In this poem, evening is personified as a modest maiden. The poem is descriptive in nature, but at one point, the poet seeks inspiration from the beautiful surroundings and establishes a connection with the pastoral scene at another level. This poem was composed in 1746. It is the most perfect composition and shows Collins' poetic faculty at its height. It is a fine example of his love of nature. It shows his power of describing natural scenes. It gives intimate and sensitive suggestion of twilight. The whole poem is steeped in evening glow. The soothing atmosphere of the evening helps the poet to produce soft music and suits his quiet and melancholy mood. So, the Ode to Evening is a prophecy of the nature poetry to come in future. Ode to Evening was composed in 1746 and it is one of the finest poems of William Collins. It is written in his collection entitled Odes on Several Description and Allegorical Subjects. It is composed in a single stanza of 52 lines with unrhyming pattern. This beautiful poem is addressed to the evening. Evening is regarded as the goddess nymph. The personified evening is chaste, reserved, and meek, opposite to the bright sun. The poem has three parts. The first part is the opening salutation to the evening. We find opening salutation to the evening in first part of the poem. The second one is the center part where the poet requests for the guidance in receiving peace, and the last one is his personal point of view to return to general aspect. When the poem starts, the speaker humbly requests to the spirit of evening to grant him the skill of singing so that he could please her. She is enchanting part of nature who sometimes looks like in a pensive mood. She is also fond of the speaker's song. The poet has used the concept of the evening as a way to put his view on the woman as contradictory figure, something mysterious and also generous. The evening is merging point of the sunlight and the sunset in a way. The evening is a merging point of the sunlight and the sunset in a way. It is transition from light to dark and day to night. William Collins personifies evening in this poem as chaste Eve, which is a biblical figure. The comparison of the evening to the eve is ambiguous. In the poem, the poet builds up an atmosphere of evening and also describes here how he would like to spend time in evening. Thus, Ode to Evening is a beautiful poem. Here, man and nature are brought together. It is full of many delicate descriptions of nature and melancholy. It is lyricism that has made this poem readable and enjoyable. In this poem, Evening appears as a country girl, a fairy queen, a priestess, and a goddess. The sun is presented as a knight that rests in his chivalric splendor. The bat and the beetles are most rustically reported. The evening stars is the timekeeper of shepherds and the sheep. The poem is totally addressed to the goddess Evening. He invokes the goddess with various addresses. He calls her grave nymph, reserved, and by many other titles. He hopes to please her by the melody of his song. The poet addresses the evening as pensive Eve. The poet wants to sing to lull her to sleep with the music of his verses. He describes his evening scenes in different seasons and says that man will always recognize her great influence and sing her praises. The poet describes the departure of evening step by step. The sun is setting in the west and it is calm and cool evening. It is a charming scene in the west. The radiance of the setting sun is spread over the cloud sky. The cloudy water is woven and hanging over his babe-like beds. The air is calm and the atmosphere is cool and tranquil. The peace of the atmosphere is disturbed only by humming of the insects. Addressing evening as a Solomon maid, the poet requests her to bestow upon him all the qualities of a great poet. It should compose soothing, charming, and sweet verses whose theme he might get from her darkening valleys. Poet wishes that his poetry should contain the depth and calmness of valleys. The poet describes the coming of night. At the approach of the night, the fairy spirits will wake up and take the goddess evening to her abode. The fairies rejoice at night in frantic pleasures. These fairies will lead evening towards a heath beside a shining lake, or to some tract of land, or to a place made scared by the ancient custom. The poet describes the evening in various seasons. Spring pours her sweet showers upon her and washes her hair refreshing showers of rain. Summer takes delight in her slow departing light. Autumn fills her lap with withered leaves. Winter frightens evening with its cold winds. The evening shivers and trembles before winter. The poet says that evening will always inspire people with imagination and friendship, knowledge and good health. Therefore, all human beings will develop in them the sweetness of the evening. They will possess her influence and so they will always sing song in her praise. This is the central theme of the poem Ode to the Evening and it is written by William Collins.